So a warm welcome to all. What we're doing already, I see many of you in the chat on Zoom, typing in where you're calling in from, and a little bit about the weather. As many of you who know, I normally sit in New York, and today I have been at a Women's Funding Network meeting in Puerto Rico. So I am in a very sunny place and very happy about it, because you all know how I feel about the cold. But we've got varying degrees of temperature and both internal and in our place. So warm welcome to all. I see we're coming in from New York City at 45 degrees, 27 in Chicago, and we're just coming in from all across the United States, it seems right now. Felton, California, Winchester, Massachusetts, sunny in Ossining, New York, Chicago, Falls Church, Virginia, and then we've got Anne from Sweden, welcome. Icy, Idaho, New York City. And I know that we're all joining and landing, so as you come in, you can just say a little hello and where you're coming from. We've got Vermont, low 30s, but given how warm, how cold it's been, it feels like summer. So wonderful to know that perspective shifts a lot of how we perceive our world. Anna sitting in Germany, where it's rainy and cold. Lakshmi in Southern California. Princeton, New Jersey, wonderful. So we really are coming in from so many different places, and we're all just joining and landing. And if you're on YouTube, you can be typing into the comments where you're coming in from, and just anything that you want to share with us today. Toronto, it's a nice day, warming up here, beautiful. So many of us have been coming together week after week to join into this Women Together community, and I see so many familiar faces. But if you are brand new to the Women Together space, a warm welcome to you all. And just an opening that this is our Women Together Connect session, where we get to hear from some incredible teachers. We have a wonderful friend and teacher and guest here with us who I'll introduce in a few minutes. But then we also have our Women Together circles, which started up in the fall last season, and now we are starting again a new round on February 23rd, where you can, in our Women Together Connect, you meet with new women each week, and in Women Together circles, we put you in a circle and you stay with that circle during the series. So it really is more focused on getting to know people, and what we find is that there's such a magic. There is such a magic when we come together and we really deeply listen to each other. Often we've explored topics of listening or having compassion for ourselves and for each other, and really just holding that in these times of what's been a kind of up and down crisis moment of the global pandemic, but also in our own lives, both from a health perspective and from finding our sense of contribution in our world. So there are just so many things that we've been through and been holding together. I'm still seeing more come in from the chat. We've got Germany, Reading, Pennsylvania, Toronto. I love that we have a bit more of a global group today. And I know that our guest, Arawana Hayashi, has a wonderful global presence. So a warm welcome to you all. Wonderful weather in Switzerland. Thank you for sharing with us. So what I'd like to do is just invite us to land in our place. Wherever you may be, you can just get your feet on the ground. And I'm also seeing the YouTube comments coming in from all over the US, and also from I think another Switzerland in the YouTube. So wonderful. So it's just great to be together wherever you are, wherever you may be, just taking in what it means to be in this body, on this earth, in your place. And just feel the feet on the ground. We'll just land here for a moment of stillness. We like to do these tiny practices. We don't need to be out at a retreat or away for a week in order to just gain some perspective on our own lives. So just landing here. Tuning into the breath. And just this first moment of feeling what it means to be in this group, but also in this body, in this place. When you're ready, you can begin to reconnect with the screen. Just keeping that inward connection as we expand our circle and connect here with each other. And the invitation will be to switch to gallery view. So I love having the gallery view. It allows me to feel our circle, to feel our connectedness, and to feel just who's in this room together, who is here with us. So if you go into the gallery view and you just pick a few boxes and just send a warm, inviting welcome with your eyes, with your body, just finding that warm, inviting welcome to ourselves and to these wonderful women who are here. I love it. All of the smiles just start coming and the waving. And it's that feeling for me when I enter into a circle with all of you. It's just building that connection and that capacity to feel each other. How incredible. Wonderful. Warm welcome to all. And as you take in this welcome that you may have just felt or given, if you also just take a moment to sense into what brought you here today, and just type that into the chat, that will help Arawana and I to know what we can do to support you landing here. What brought you here today? And what do you hope to have happen? So what is your intention for today? And I'll read out a few of them from the chat here. And we really have done so many different pieces around connection, around being together. So we have women connection. My sister brought me in. I feel like I've met some sisters in this space. Connection with other women. Been away too long. So glad to be reconnected with this vital energy. It's my weekly opportunity to chill out and reconnect. Curiosity. Arawana. Yeah, warm smiles and connection. Beautiful. Oh, I'm so glad, Hillary, you found it in your email inbox. And my friend and Arawana's work brought us in. Wonderful. Missing you all. Space, the final frontier, working on creating it. Well, I cannot think of a better person to be doing that than with Arawana. So I'm so glad that that you bring up social skills. I like to start my day with some fun. Wonderful. So a lot of the practice that we've been doing is being able to regulate ourselves, being able to have these things that come up in our lives and just be with what's coming up, be in conversation with each other, and create the inner spaciousness, cultivate the spaciousness inside ourselves to be able to have the conversations or do the work that we need to do in the world, whatever that may be. I love Esther's reminding me what is important. Love this group. Wonderful. Oh, and Fran, my friend Diana and our shared love of movement practices, and Leah, more room to breathe deeply and connect. Wonderful. So that definitely gives us a little sampling of what brings us all here. And it's just wonderful to really be together and to have Arawana Hayashi here with us, who I consider a mentor, a dear friend, a co-conspirator, and just an incredible woman who has really been a leader, a pioneer in this embodied practice of social presencing theater. She is a founder of social presencing theater for the Presencing Institute and has worked with one of our friends and colleagues, Otto Scharmer. And really what she describes in her little bio, which I'll share, is she brings her background in the arts, meditation, and social justice to creating social presencing that makes visible both current reality and emerging future possibilities. And I read that because I find not only is it written, and Arawana also has an incredible book, The Art of Making a True Move. For me, that's been the practice that Arawana brings to my work has actually been to sense into what's possible, to sense into really what's emerging for me in my work and in my life. And I find that so much of what Arawana has created is an ability for me to listen to my own body, but also to the social body. So when I say we're coming into the circle, I have felt such a deep sense of not only understanding what's emerging for me, what might be possible in my own life, but also what might be possible for us. So I know that we only have 20 minutes to practice together, so we might just scratch the surface. But I'm so, so grateful to have you with us, Arawana, always. This is not your first time in Women Together, and I'm just glad that you're back and continue to hold the space with us. And I know that in many ways, this is still always the beginning of our work together. So thank you for being here, for your friendship, and for sharing your practice with us.
Oh, thank you so much, Antoinette. Yeah, it's wonderful to be back with this beautiful group of women. And I really appreciate the invitation. Just all of what you do, Antoinette, and your team, and it's just opportunity, which is so important in the world today for our sort of collective presence of women on the planet, and the ability to meet together to find some nourishment and strength and insights and humor and affection and all of the qualities of what it is to be connected, to feel connected. I was asked about this topic of spaciousness, which is one of my favorite topics, and has been let's say, a foundation for my own work, which is mostly around innovation and creativity, and how things emerge from nothing, from not knowing, from this kind of gap in the kind of conceptual, habitual humdrum that we're always engaged in. How do we get a gap and an open space in that for real, genuineness? And in our work, we call that for being able to make in this world a true move. And that could be a true move of speech. And because my area is really embodied movement, it's often a gesture that it comes from this sense of incredible genuineness. So in terms of leadership, in terms of team participation, in terms of family, co-creating our families, healthy families, and also expanded to larger systems, this quality of just being genuine is, such a resource for all of us. And oftentimes there's not enough space, I feel, to cultivate and to reflect and to see that not only in ourselves, but in others, to see this basic goodness of other people, the basic sanity, basic healthiness, basic care that every human being has. But it gets so often covered over by all of our confusions and conflicts and differences of opinion and beliefs and whatnot. But right under the surface, right under the surface is this kind of tender-heartedness. And sometimes I feel that it's space that allows me to feel my own tenderness and the tenderness of others. So I was thinking about this topic before we get to a little practice. When we're talking about spaciousness, there were these kind of 4 areas that I thought about. One is something that I noticed when we were just sitting still with Antoinette, that I noticed that thoughts come and go. There's a thought, seems to appear, and then it just disappears. As long as I don't grab onto it, as long as I give it space, it just appears and disappears, and another one appears and disappears. But I can feel the spaciousness that thoughts aren't solid, they need a little space to arise. And in a way, when I sit quietly, like we did just a moment ago, I'm more inclined to really appreciate the gap between thoughts, the sort of spaciousness of just a moment where I don't seem to be thinking. And then a thought comes, and then there's another gap in which my mind seems to be resting a little bit and not just jumping up and down with another thought. It just seems to be able to rest for a moment. Then I was thinking about words and language and spaciousness. And again, Antoinette referred to this conversations that you had earlier, or practices around listening. That the spaciousness in conversation is really listening. And that kind of listening, in a way, trains us or encourages us to be non-reactive. That we don't have to be up and down and like and dislike and hope and fear on everything that we hear. And we hear a lot now, or read a lot through social media, through the news, the demands of our communities and families. And there's so much suffering going on, and confusion and conflict. And we feel it, right? We all feel it. And so there's something about being able to listen to what is said in a way that we just allow the listening to happen without always having to have some kind of reaction and opinion and say so in that. And this, again, spaciousness around words then allows for a spaciousness around feeling, around emotion. And many of us need to build stronger containers for holding difficult emotion, right? Not letting it just blap out in the world, but also not suppressing it and feeling, to be a good person, I shouldn't feel this much rage or whatever. But we need to build containers, spacious containers in our own heart and body to hold the richness and the chaos and the power of our own emotions. And then the last part is just spaciousness around action, really around the body. And for many of us, we could just include more doing nothing time in every day. We could include more just sitting still and really doing nothing, so that we have a balance of action and kind of non-action. And that we don't think of non-action as just laziness or depression or, an inability to get up and go. I was raised in the Midwest where, if you sat still, there was something the matter with you somehow. But in this case, we're really talking about taking the time to just sit and do nothing, look out the window or enjoy your cat or whatever, not reading, not improving ourselves, just doing nothing. To provide this kind of spaciousness, doing nothing can actually be quite anxiety provoking for many people. I work both in the meditation and in movement, and many times the idea of space just is very anxiety provoking for people. That spaciousness sounds like a good idea, but that actually the feeling of it can be a little unnerving for people. So again, it's building a sort of capacity for doing nothing, a capacity for not knowing, capacity for just openness. And that's what, what I kind of feel is this sense of spaciousness, and that actually needs to be cultivated in our life. And particularly in this kind of time and that we live in. And how can there be a more kind of open and non-agenda, non-expectation, non-judgmental time built into our day? So the little practice that I'd like to do is what we call in our work the 20-minute dance. We're not going to do it for 20 minutes, and maybe we'll have to make some adjustments given your situations. The 20-minute dance is a alternating of stillness, like a shape, waiting, doing nothing, and then an action, a movement, a gesture, which arises from the stillness. Like, what is this shape? Like where you are now, if you feel that your body is in a sitting shape, any shape is perfect. And then if you try to separate, not what do I want to do now, but what does this body want to do now? Like, what do the shoulders want to do, or the waist, or the legs? What do they want to do? Then we just do that. It's listening into the voice of the body rather than what we think we should or would be a good thing or to do. So the 20-minute dance alters stillness and movement. And stillness and movement. We do a little bit of movement and then we let it rest into stillness. Then maybe we do something. It might be stretching or wiggling or shrugging or anything that feels like the body wants to do. And then we rest again. And then we do another movement. So that's the content of the 20-minute dance. The attention is what you might call mindfulness of body, which I'm certain everyone's familiar. Mindfulness just means resting our attention somewhere. And we're resting our attention on the feeling of the body, either still or moving. Now, how I like to do this, I do this every day as my kind of check-in. And I like to do it lying down on the floor to begin with, so that over the practice period, I start lying down and then I move to sitting and then I move to standing, so that I have all three levels: lying down, moving still a little bit, close to the earth with my body really grounded on this good Mother Earth body. Then I move to a little bit of sitting up, what's does the body feel like? It's a sitting shape, moving and still. And then I do a little bit standing. Now, in my daily practice, I do this for a little longer period, but I thought we could try this today. For those of you that have the option of lying down, you're not like in the middle of your office with a bunch of other people, or you don't have a space or whatever, but if you can start with a little bit of just lying down, that would be perfect. If not, you can just do it in your chair. So, okay, you don't need to be seeing the screen. I'll just say a little bit, and I won't say, oh, now still, now move, now still. I'll let you figure that out. If you could just do a sitting, if you're in a chair, you're going to sit in a shape. Then you're going to do some kind of movement, whatever the body feels like doing. And then you're going to be, again, resting in a shape. So anybody who can, if you can find a little spot next to you where you can lie down, I'm going to do that as well. That would be perfect. And again, if that's not workable for you, you just remain in your chair, and that would be great. And we're going to all start, though, with a sense of a still shape. And you can, again, move away from your screen if you want. You don't need to be looking at the screen. So if you're in your chair and don't want to be on the floor, just rest in your beginning shape. And for those of us that are actually able to use the floor as so that we have a little more contact with our Mother Earth body, the very beginning of this is our body in relationship to our Mother Earth body. And feeling that we really have a place on this planet right now. We have a spot in this room, whatever room you're in, and we have a spot, a location on the planet, and we're in different locations. But this is our spot on the planet, our body on the Mother Earth, and we completely belong there. We belong on our spot. Every single human being, every animal, insect, we each have a place right now on the planet. And this is so important to feel. This is my place. And this is exactly where I belong right now. So just rest in your shape. Really a moment of doing nothing. And then, as soon as you feel that the body would like to do something, it could be a part of the body, the shoulders, the low back, the jaw, muscles of the face, toes, and just begin a movement, a little bit of movement. And then let that come to a still shape. You rest there, a little pause of space, openness. And out of that little space then comes a movement. So I leave it to you now, alternating for a few minutes, moving and still. Those of us that are lying down, we have a few minutes in the lying down position. And any movement is good. But you have no agenda. You're not trying to improve yourself or do your yoga or Pilates right now, which are wonderful to do, but let's not do them right now. But just asking, what does this body want to do? Given that it can do about anything as a lying down person, within the restrictions that we all have physically. Does it want to stretch or reach or curl up or jiggle a little bit? You certainly can do this with the eyes closed. You don't need to look around. Just leave your eyes relaxed if you can. With no agenda. You're just very letting your body have time to just do what it wants and letting your mind rest on the feeling of the body, not on what it thinks, but on the feeling of the body. The low back, the hands, the belly. More a sense of the whole body. It's letting the body have the voice rather than the mind being the one that's always in control, always in power. It's a little restorative justice project, letting the quieter voice of the body have a louder voice now. You're welcome now, if you'd like to move to a little sitting up shape. And those in the chair, you can continue if you'd like, or also those of us in the chair, if you'd like to move to standing, that's fine. Now, what does that back want to do now? What do those hips want to do? Letting our mindfulness rest on the feeling of the body, either moving or still. And then very easily, if you want to move up into your standing. So we finish with a little bit of standing shape as a standard, standing women shape. Adding a little bit of movement if we want. Distinguishing the sense of stillness when we're in a still shape from the moving shape, the moving body. And if we think about stuff or think about it, we just let the thoughts go. It's really about the spaciousness of the body. Just take another minute for your practice. And we end our practice just in a standing still shape. Any shape is perfect. And once you get into your standing still shape, please pay attention to the back of the body. Like, what does the back of the body feel like? Is it present, the back of your head and neck? Your lower back, is it present? That means do you have a sense that you can feel the back, or all of the strength of the body's in the back? All of your ancestors and teachers and guides, all of the other women and men of our who've been before us and who are cheering us on in this life. We can feel them behind us, the strength of them. The eyes are relaxed. And then please just let that go and come back and join our screen community. Thank you so much for engaging in that. Just trying to bring a little bit more spaciousness into our embodied presence. So I think if I'm right now, we have time to sort of share with one another what we noticed. Try not to think too much, right? Be pretty much like, oh, I noticed this happening in my shoulder, or I noticed this feeling coming up. Not too much interpretation, like this means that I should be getting back to the gym, or that sort of sense of interpreting or projecting. And in this kind of work, when you're working with the body, it's very important that there isn't any cross-talking, you know what I mean? It's probably, you know this anyways, but each person can say something. The others just hold a spacious container in the beginning. Because the thing about the body that I found is that this is so personal for everybody, right? We have no idea about each other's backgrounds, about sort of how we regard our body, health-wise, age-wise, sexuality-wise, gender-wise, anything. We don't know this really. And therefore, we have a lot of humility when we listen to people speaking about their own experience, which is always so moving, you know, for all of us. So we don't make comment about each other, particularly when we have this kind of conversation about our experience in our 20-minute dance or in our little practice, but we just really hold this loving attention for one another in the beginning. So each person gets to say just a little bit, oh, I noticed this about myself, or I noticed this sense of spaciousness was here, and maybe claustrophobia or tightness was somewhere else. Anything that you would share, we do that with I'm sure you know this already, with a little bit of tenderness. So Antoinette, who helps us now along to the next thing?
Yeah, so that was absolutely wonderful, Arawana, and that's exactly the practice that we'll move into. So we'll just turn to breakouts and listen to Arawana's prompt here and enjoy the time together. We'll have about 20 minutes, I think. Oops, what happened? Okay, to just share experience and trust that whatever comes up, whatever is shared is absolutely the right thing, and that really this is the magic of being able to have this inner spaciousness in what it creates in our upcoming connection with each other. So enjoy this time together, and we'll see you back here in just under 20 minutes.